I never believed in perfect love until I discovered a heartbreaking truth about my soulmate. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was like a storm was brewing, a thundercloud hanging over my heart. I stood there breathless, feeling the ground tremble beneath my feet. How could the one I loved more than anything hold a secret that could shatter us both? Lucy had this way of lighting up a room. Her laughter was a melody. I could drown in it for years. But there were shadows in her eyes, glimpses of sorrow that flickered like candle flames. It was as if she wore a mask, beautiful and captivating but fragile too. I had always known deep down that there was more to her than met the eye. I just didn't want to admit it. As we wandered through the city, hand in hand, the world felt bright. But that evening, when she pulled me aside in the park, the air changed. A sudden chill wrapped around us. My heartbeat quickened. "There's something I need to tell you," she whispered, the tremor in her voice echoing my fears. Her hands shook, and the warmth I craved slipped away like sand through my fingers. With every word, she revealed fragments of a life I never knew existed. A family torn apart, relationships left in ruins, secrets hidden under layers of smiles. I could hardly breathe. The weight of her past pressed down on me like an iron hand. My heart raced. It was a struggle to keep up with the avalanche of emotions crashing over me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I choked out, anger mingling with sorrow. It felt like betrayal, yet I couldn't shake off the tender bond we shared. "I wanted to protect you," she faltered, tears spilling down her cheeks. I wanted to gather her close, to shield her from the chaos, but the distance between us felt insurmountable. Just when I thought I understood, she looked up, her eyes wide with fear. "There's one more thing." My breath hitched in my throat. What else could there be? I could hardly find my voice. The silence spiraled around us, thickening the air like fog. Each second stretched painfully, shadows creeping in as doubt clouded the colors of our love. What was it? What could unravel everything we had built together? I braced myself, feeling an ache in my chest that mirrored the urgency in the space between us. My world hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of chaos, the truth threatening to pull us under. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of uncertainty throbbed in the silence that enveloped us, holding me hostage in a moment drawn taut with fear. Lucy's eyes glistened, reflecting the turmoil in her heart. As I searched her face for answers, I felt as if I were standing on the edge of a precipice, each passing second demanding to know what darkness loomed behind her brave facade. "Lucas," she finally spoke, her voice trembling like a fragile whisper caught in the wind. "I am not just keeping secrets from you. I'm living one." She inhaled deeply, as if steeling herself for confession. "Before I met you, I was involved in something dark. I was in a relationship that spiraled out of control. I thought I escaped it," but she hesitated, drawing her brows together as dread washed over her features. "But the person I left behind may still be looking for me." A chill raced along my spine. The world around us started to fade, the vibrant colors of the park dimming under the weight of her revelation. I wanted to reach for her, to pull her into a cocoon of safety, but my limbs felt paralyzed by the enormity of her words. "What does that mean?" I managed to ask, my heart echoing like a distant drum. The rhythm, a fractured melody of anxiety. "It means," she continued, her eyes swimming with unshed tears, "that he is dangerous. He was obsessive, and when I tried to break free, things got violent." Her confession tumbled out like jagged stones, each sharp edge striking against my heart. The world I had built around us, adorned with laughter and love, was now laced with dread. I felt an instinctive urge to comfort her, to let her know that, despite the truth that threatened to unravel us, I still wanted to stand with her against the storm. But the fear gripped me like a vice, twisting and turning, making it hard to breathe. "We can face this together," I offered, the words clumsily tumbling from my lips. "You're not alone anymore." Her gaze dropped, eyes tracing the shadows along the path we had walked together so many times. "I don't want to put you in danger, Lucas." It's too late for me to run. He could come for me at any moment, and I can't allow that to happen to you. Her voice quaked with emotion as she took a step back, creating a chasm between us that I was desperate to bridge. Running away won't solve it. You deserve to be free of him. I won't let him take that from you. My voice faltered, not quite matching the fury swelling in my chest. I wanted to scream, to fight against the world for her. But my heart recognized the fragility of her spirit all too well. She felt like a delicate glass, one wrong move away from shattering as the evening air began to cool. I searched her face for signs of hope, any glimmer of the light that had drawn me to her in the first place. It was there briefly, peeking through the clouds of doubt and fear that threatened to envelop her entirely. Can we just live in the moment, just for tonight? I suggested, heart pounding with desperation. Let's not think about the past or the future. Just us. Tentatively she nodded, a small flicker of a smile breaking through the tears trailing down her cheeks. I'd like that. And just like that, we chose to embrace a fragile moment of joy amidst chaos, allowing our fingers to intertwine once more, the warmth igniting our connection against the chilling uncertainties. We wandered deeper into the city, the familiar streets pulsing with life. Everywhere we went, laughter echoed in the air, and for a moment, it felt as if we belonged to the world again. Tiny acts of kindness emerged from the sidewalk, strangers helping one another with bags, a musician strumming a hopeful tune, a child melting into laughter alongside a parent. Those fleeting moments of connection soothed my spirit, breathing life into the air around the storm that loomed dangerously close. But just when I thought we could be free of the shadows, a gut-wrenching scream shattered the night, a cry that sent shivers creeping down my spine. In the distance, just a block away, a figure loomed pale and familiar against the neon glow. My heart skipped a beat as recognition struck me like ice water. It was him, Lucy. I gasped, turning to see her face drain of color, eyes wide with fear as she froze in place. The past clawed its way back into our present, a relentless specter threatening to tear apart the small sense of safety we had only just begun to forge. My mind raced. How had he found us? In that moment, all the warmth, all the tiny sparks of hope that had ignited during our evening melted away, leaving only a chilling realization our fragile love was now wading into an unthinkable darkness. With a single heartbeat, everything shifted. The air crackled with an almost tangible dread, a fragile facade of safety crumbling around us as I struggled to understand the scene unfolding before us. Lucy's face, once lit with the glow of possibilities, transformed into a ghostly pallor, her eyes reflecting unbridled terror. The figure before us felt like a living nightmare, a man who had once brought only despair into her life now re-emerging like a breath of stale, cold air. Lucas, we need to go, she whispered urgently, her fingers pressing against my arm, as if the heat of contact could stave off the dread creeping into her heart. Panic flared within me, battling against the resolve that had begun to form. I couldn't let her face this alone. No, I insisted, my voice low but firm. We need to confront this. You deserve to be free. Her gaze swept to the figure that continued to approach us, his cruel smile ripping through the cool night air like a jagged knife. I locked eyes with him, the challenge coiling tightly in my chest. You don't get to come back into her life. Not now, not ever. He halted a few steps away, a veil of bitterness shrouding his features. You're in way over your head, kid, he spat, each word laced with venom. Lucy is mine, and I'll make sure you regret standing in my way. It was a taunt, an attempt to establish dominance, but it only fueled the fire that blazed inside me. Lucy has broken free. You have no power here, I declared, stepping in front of her, an instinctive move to shield her from the past that threatened to engulf us both. I could feel her breath hitch behind me, a mixture of fear and disbelief palpable in the air. But instead of retreating, she suddenly grasped my hand, pulling me back behind her. Lucas, listen to me. I can't let him hurt you. Please just go. Her voice was desperate, a chaotic swirl of emotions that broke my heart. I tried to take in the entirety of her plea, to imprint it upon my very being, but I couldn't fantasize about leaving her to face this insurmountable darkness alone. The man continued to inch closer, the tension in the air thickening with every second. You think you can protect her? You're just a boy playing a man's game, he mocked, flashing a predatory grin that revealed too many past horrors. You don't know what I'm capable of. With each taunt, Lucy began to tremble, an overwhelming wave of vulnerability washing over her. Stop it! She cried, a fierce determination flaring within her. The remnants of the brave woman I had fallen in love with returning momentarily. You don't own me anymore. But he laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the street, ricocheting off the nearby buildings like a haunting specter. And you think you can sever those ties? I've always been a part of you, Lucy. You'll never outrun your past. As he spoke, shadows seemed to stretch and writhe at his feet, as if his words were manifesting a darkness that threatened to consume her whole. I felt her quaking beside me, a soft ember flickering in the winds of an impending storm. Suddenly, as if sensing the shift in the atmosphere, the man reached into his jacket. My heart seized, bracing for the worst as dread coiled tighter around us. I thought you'd been smart enough to hide from me, but you underestimated what it'll do to bring you back. Stop! I shouted, stepping closer yet again, fueled with an adrenaline I hadn't known was within me. But Lucy's grip tightened around me, and in that moment, I felt her terror again, sharp and searing. What are you going to do? She demanded, bravely taking a step towards him, breaking the tether of our love and facing the dark specter of her past. The very essence of her spirit, a blend of courage and desperation, pierced through the fright. I wanted to reach for her, to pull her back, to shelter her from the impending danger. Yet I felt the chains of fate binding us both too tightly. But instead of pulling out a weapon, he withdrew a small, unassuming envelope. You're going to want to read this, he said, his voice dripping with an ominous relevance that set my heart racing. And it'll give you just enough time to decide what you want to do next. Lucy's breath hitched as he tossed the envelope to the ground, and for a moment, it lay there as stark symbol of uncertainty and unresolved pain. I could see the conflict churning within her, mirrored in the anguish that enveloped my own heart, as I faced the imposing darkness refusing to dissipate. Somewhere between love and fear, hope flickered dimly in my chest. No matter what it says, I believe you can overcome this. I pleaded with her, my voice firm amidst the chaos. Don't read it, Lucy. It's a trap, I warned, but she stood there, frozen as the wind whipped around us, carrying with it the scent of betrayal, turmoil, and a hauntingly familiar suffocation. Before I could process the shifting tides of emotions, before I could respond to the furious need in my heart to shield her from this reckoning, Lucy bent down and picked up the envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it, a single sheet of paper slipping free. With one horrified glance, my heart plummeted into the depths of despair as her eyes widened further, reflecting a world of unimaginable revelations. And just like that, the night shifted again, the grip of our fragile bond teetering on the edge of an unthinkable truth. Lucy, what does it say? I whispered, dread coiling tightly around my throat, waiting to see if hope would rise again or if, instead, we would be plunged into darkness from which we might never return. The world around us faded into a muted blur, an indistinct landscape overshadowed by the intensity of Lucy's frozen gaze. I could feel the air grow heavy, stifling and electric, the tension between us and that man sharpening into a razor's edge. As she slowly unfolded the sheet of paper, her expression shifted, twisting from confusion to horror, and then settling into an unfathomable grief. Lucy, please, I implored, reaching out toward her with a mix of urgency and fear. Tell me what it says. My heart drummed wildly in my chest, every beat an echo of my desperate plea, as if somehow I could drown out the weight of the looming revelation, but she merely stood there, transfixed, her vision riveted upon the text as the words seemingly danced before her. Her lips parted, but no sound emerged. She was a lost child confronted with an unbearable truth, ensnared in a silent scream. The man watching us reveled in the turmoil, an unsettling satisfaction curling the corners of his mouth. That's right, Lucy. It's all coming back, isn't it? The pieces of your past reassembling around you like a straitjacket. His voice coiled with a dark, serpentine glee, and I felt a fresh wave of fury surge through me, a primordial urge to obscure him from existence for the sheer agony he was inflicting upon her. The silence stretched, a taut wire ready to snap, and I filled the void. You're a coward. Do you think this will break her? She's stronger than you'll ever know, I spat, my anger unfurling like wings. And I won't let you control her with memories of shame. Lucy finally tore her gaze from the paper and looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tear-silver drops hanging on the precipice, ready to fall. I don't know what to do, Lucas, she whispered, her voice raw, a haunting melody that tugged at my heartstrings. How can I face this? Together, I urged, stepping closer, willing her to feel my resolve. Well, face it together. Whatever it is, it can't take away the strength you have now, the strength we have as a team. My words were a desperate hope, a fragile bridge connecting our hearts, even in the darkness that threatened to tear us apart. She nodded slightly, the flicker of determination haunting the edges of her fear. But just as I felt a glimmer of connection spark between us, she cast her gaze back to the paper, its contents dancing in her mind. "This is about my mother," she confessed, each syllable slipping through her lips like sand through fingers, leaving a trail of vulnerability shining in the moonlight. It was her name on that envelope. What? My throat tightened as I fought to comprehend the magnitude of her words. Her mother, long gone yet somehow tied to the very entity trying to ensnare her once more? But how could that be? The entire situation felt like being plunged into cold water, my thoughts scattering like ripples across an unforgiving surface. I thought she'd left the past behind, that her choices didn't haunt me. I thought I was free, Lucy continued, her hands trembling around the paper, the ghost of something ancient playing across her features. But this changes everything. I can't let it drag us down. Lucy, whatever it says, it doesn't define you. You are not a product of your past. You fought too hard to become who you are now. My voice surged with conviction, but even I could hear the crack in my facade, fueled by an underlying dread that perhaps she would see herself as he framed Eros, a victim pinned beneath the weight of her history. With trembling fingers, Lucy ran her thumb over the edges of the paper, her breath quickening as she hesitated. "It talks about a secret, something she kept hidden from me. A legacy of pain." Her voice broke with emotion, and I saw the turmoil writhe on her face, deepening into a well of uncertainty. "Can't possibly be true. It can't." "Lucy," I urged, desperation clawing at my insides. "We can uncover this together. Whatever it is, we will face it. Morning light brings clarity, and I believe in you." It was a fragile tether I was offering, a lifeline fashioned from courage and love. Tears spilled from her eyes, glistening like fallen stars on her cheeks, shadowed by the burden of impending revelations. "I'm just so scared, Lucas. I can't bear the thought of a darkness seeping back into my life." Her voice trembled, catching me in a web of deep-seated empathy for the battles we've both faced. "And you won't have to," I promised fiercely, pulling her into a gentle embrace, feeling her heart racing against mine. "I won't let him harm you again." The man's laughter echoed around us, twisted and mad, cutting through the quiet moment with jagged edges. "Hiding will only prolong the inevitable, Lucy. You're already tangled in your mother's shadows, and they will consume you. They will consume him too." That I felt Lucy stiffen in my arms, the warmth of her body suddenly turning cold as the realization bore down upon her. "No, I can't let that happen again. Not to us," she whispered, shaking her head as if refusing the possibilities the future might hold. This was the moment, and I could sense a precipice from which everything could radically change. She had a choice: to turn back to the confines of her past, or to forge ahead into the unknown with me. My heartbeat drummed in her ear as I held her close. "I'm here, Lucy. You are not alone." But just as the vulnerability of the moment promised strength, a piercing scream shattered the tension, ringing out from the alleyway nearby. It sliced through the silence like glass, chilling the air and shaking us from our reverie. "Help!" a voice cried, desperation clawing through the haunting night. Lucy's grip slipped from mine, and before I could react, she spun toward the sound, a trail of instinct guiding her. "We can't leave someone in trouble," she said, and though terror writhed within me, I nodded. The choice to run or to stand had just morphed into one of deeper consequence. We took off together into the darkness of the alley, uncertainty mingling with a fresh pang of determination. But as we rushed toward the source of the cry, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were barreling toward something more dangerous than either of us could imagine, a collision that might force us to confront the shadows once and for all, perhaps exposing secrets neither of us was ready to hear. The shadows of the alley loomed around us, twisting and curling like hungry serpents, swallowing the flickering light from the street lamps overhead. We dashed through debris, the clattering of our footsteps echoing off the walls, mingling with the desperate cries of the person in need. Lucy was leading the way, her determination pushing her forward even as uncertainty hung like a fog. "Stay close," I urged, my voice breaking through the chaos. "We don't know what's waiting for us." She didn't respond, but I could see the flashes of bravery in her eyes, each spark igniting greater resolve. "Please, just a little further," she called, her focus entirely on reaching the distressed voice as we turned a corner. The scene unfolded before us. Stark and Shakinga man crouched on the ground, his hands covering a wound on his side, blood seeping through his fingers. Panic surged through me, hot and unfamiliar, ricocheting against the confines of my chest. No, I muttered, instinctively pulling Lucy behind me to shield her from the raw chaos. But her resolve didn't waver. We need to help him, she said, reaching forward despite my warning grip. What happened? The man lifted his head, his face pinched in pain yet filled with desperation. I didn't mean to, it was an accident, please just don't let me bleed out, he gasped, trembling as he shifted, his pain evident. Lucy stepped forward, her innate compassion cutting through the tension like a knife. You're going to be okay. Just hold on, she said, her voice soothing, a lifeline thrown into stormy waters. With trembling hands she reached for his wound, despite the blood and the fear threatening to overtake us both. No, Lucy, wait. I gripped her arm, the horror of what she was about to do crushing down on me. But she turned, her eyes wide, shimmering with empathy that radiated warmth amidst the cold fear surrounding us. There's no time, she insisted, her voice unwavering. He needs help. I backed down, my heart pounding as I watched her crouch beside the man, her fingers desperately searching for a way to stem the flow of blood. The world went quiet except for her murmurs, wrapping around his pain and my fears in equal measure. Get a cloth, she shouted, and I fumbled through the materials I had on hand, giving her my shirt as it draped hastily over the jagged wound, the fabric soaking in crimson as the man groaned. I don't know what to do, I exclaimed, my voice devoid of calmness. We need to call for help. But there was something haunting in Lucy's expression. This is the help he needs right now, don't you see? She said, her determination unwavering. Remind him he's not alone. Help him hold on. She leaned closer, her breath shaky with fear yet firm with resolve. I stepped back, the reality of her words hitting me. You were always one to reach out to others during their darkest hours, I murmured, half to myself and half to her. But my heart was a swirling storm, torn between fear and admiration. She tended to the man. I watched the glimmer of hope rise in her scared heart becoming something fierce and protective. It was as if she was reclaiming a part of herself, bolstered by the act of kindness, even in the face of chaos. The man gasped for breath as the pressure from the makeshift bandage pressed against his wound. Thank you, I didn't think anyone would come for me, he panted. Hold on, Lucy urged, her voice a lifeline in a storm of despair. Help is coming. You're doing so well. But then, before we could inhale the relief of the moment, the man's face twisted, a fresh wave of agony breaking through. A shadow moved behind us, the looming figure manifesting as the man who had taunted us earlier. The air thickened instantly and dread spiraled down my spine, coiling tightly about my heart. What do you want? I growled, stepping protectively in front of Lucy, my body a silent shield against a growing threat. The man's grin was cold and calculating. Oh dear Lucy, you've made quite the mess, haven't you? Trying to play nurse? How noble, he chuckled darkly, the amusement evident in his voice. But you should know, uninvited guests do tend to complicate matters. I felt the air grow darker around us. A hint of menace cracked the fragile moment we'd shared. Stay away from her, I shouted, the raw primal instinct to protect overwhelming my senses. She's done nothing to you. Oh, but she's done everything. And in saving this pitiful creature, he gestured dramatically toward the wounded man. She's drawn the gaze of the past right back into her life. Lucy froze for a moment, the realization crashing over her as shadows inched closer, wrapping around her heart like an unbearable weight. No, she whispered, staring past me, eyes wide with terror. Not him, not this. The next instant, the world spun as the man struggling on the ground recoiled, mouth wide in shock, as if fearing something more sinister was about to unfold. I glanced around, sensing a shift, a silent scream echoing through the fabric of reality. Lucy, I cried, but the pleading sound barely escaped my lips as darkness pooled around us, wrapping us in its cold embrace. The man facing us leaned in, the shadows swallowing our surroundings as his laughter dripped like poison through the air. You can't run from legacy, Lucy. And soon no one will even remember your name. And with that, the world tilted on its axis, a shifting landscape of reality and memory, blurring the line between what had been and what was about to come. The fragile bonds we had fought to deepen trembled as a chilling truth tightened its grip on our hearts. leaving me to ponder. Would the strength of our love survive the tempest of secrets and shadows we were about to face? With a sickening rush, reality twisted, my mind grappling to make sense of words woven from shadow's legacy, memory, and a truth that loomed like an unseen storm. It felt as if the very air around us had turned electric, and I feared for Lucy, my shield now faltering under the weight of this revelation. Don't listen to him, I blurted, my eyes darting between the man who reveled in his power and Lucy, whose expression had become a haunting mixture of recognition and fading hope. He's trying to mess with your head. We'll get through this, I promise. Promise? She echoed, a flicker of anguish betraying her usual fortitude. Promise what? That we'll leave. That we'll be safe. I sensed the flaw in my words. Safety felt like an elusive mirage fading into the background. No, I mean that we'll face this together. He can't take you from me. Not now. Not after everything, the injured man on the ground wheezed. A sharp intake of breath breaking through the shroud of tension snaking around us. Legacy, it's the past, me past, he gasped, fingers loosening around the fabric soaked in his life force. You have to understand it's coming back for you both. My heart ached. A desperate stab of reality reminding me of our vulnerability. I turned pleadingly to Lucy, who struggled against an unseen current that threatened to pull her away, the shadows whispering dark truths only she could hear. Lucy, you're not alone, I whispered with fierce sincerity. No matter what happened before, no matter what these menacing shadows promise, we're stronger together. You taught me that. But what if the past is something we can't outrun? She murmured, her conviction fracturing beneath the weight of dread. What if I was never meant to escape? The specter of our assailant lingered on the edge of my vision, the smirk etched on his face fueling the urgency gnawing at my chest. I grasped Lucy's hands, desperate for her warmth amidst the fear that threatened to engulf her and me. Fight with me, Lucy. Remember all the moments we've shared, the light in them, the hope. They're real. We're real. Tears glistened in her eyes as the fight sparked within her, but it flickered like a candle in the wind, constantly at risk of being snuffed out. It felt so long ago. Before the darkness crept in, before everyone I loved was taken, before I stopped believing I was worthy of being saved. The shadows twisted, their dark tendrils reaching for her. For me. You can't hold on to that, I insisted, my voice fierce against the oppressive veil closing in. We're doing this our way. There's strength in all that you've endured, and it fuels what we can become. Together we can. Suddenly, the man's laughter filled the alley, cold and scornful. You think belief can shield you? Hope is a fragile joke, Lucy. It was your hope that brought you here, to this very moment of reckoning. The wounded man shuddered, as if the weight of the words struck him too. You were never free of it, he croaked, voice barely a whisper. The echoes of the past cling to you like shadows, tugging at your soul until you recognize them as truth. No, I shouted, pushing back against the tide of their doubts. Your past doesn't define you. You can choose how it shapes your future. But just then, a flicker of movement outside the alley caught my eye, a glimmer of light emerging between the darkness, warm and inviting. My heart leaped, a desperate wish mingling with reality. I strained toward it, sure that if Lucy could just hear me, if she could just hold on to that glimmer, we might survive this. Look, Lucy, there's light. It's not over. Nothing is set in stone. Lucy's gaze shifted, caught between the embrace of shadows and that beacon. It was the tenuous hope of the unknown, a thread we could grasp if only she could cast aside the weight of the past. You have to trust in us, I urged, my palms encircling hers, my heart willing her not to slip away. You don't have to carry the shadows alone anymore. I'll carry them with you if it means we can keep moving forward. Her breath hitched as that flicker danced before her eyes, igniting something deep within. But what if it leads to more pain? What if the light burns too bright, blinding us with the truths we fear? In that moment, the shadows closing around us, the laughter sharpening, a startling revelation ripped through me, raw and jagged. We cannot choose what happened, I breathed, a sudden clarity pressing against the clouds of despair. But we can choose who we become because of it, Lucy exhaled, a soft breath laced with hesitant hope, but it was drowned by the sinister laughter reverberating through the alley once more. The clamor of past choices clawed at our thoughts, urging us to abandon our fragile resolve. And just before we could make sense of the storm raging within us, the shadows recoiled, stretching against the light as a chilling voice hissed from behind me, You think hope can save you? Darkness is relentless. It tastes our fear and feasts on it. You've barely scratched the surface of what's to come. I in the dim light. I could see the man standing tall, now adorned with silhouettes of Shakli's, a spectral representation of the very legacy he spoke of. The atmosphere thickened and panic surged through me, leaving the weight of dread heavier than it had ever been. Lucy, I started, just as the shadows writhed around us, consuming the air and time. It constricted my chest, leaving me breathless, ensnared by a revelation so profound it felt like glass splintering in my mind. And before the world collapsed beneath our feet, Lucy's voice echoed through the encroaching dark, a whisper threaded with fierce defiance. I am more than my past. I am who I choose to be. A pulse of light radiated from her declaration, unraveling the hold of the shadows for a heartbeat. But in that pulse a reminder flashed, an unexpected kindness in the man on the ground, whose eyes now sparkled with clarity amid the chaos. Believe her, he croaked, before darkness consumes everything. And in that instant, as the light flickered and shadows recoiled, I realized the battle unfolding was far larger than just us. It breathed life into the hope that flicked within Lucy's heart, yet alongside it struck a chill of foreboding and unknown fate that bound all our stories together. But just as we began to stir towards this fragile union of strength and possibility, the air around us cracked. A voice deep and resonant echoed with haunting familiarity. The truth is closer than you think, Lucy. The echoes of your legacy are stitched within your heart. Are you ready to confront it? And with those words the ground shifted again, the alleyway trembling beneath our feet, twisting away from the warmth of the light. An emotional precipice yawned open before us, a chasm leaving me breathless, a heart-wrenching truth aching to be uncovered but filled with shadows yet unfathomable. And that heartbeat. I held Lucy's gaze, determination pulling us both in, yet the mystery of what lay ahead drew dangerously close to consuming us anew. The whispers of the alley surged and swirled around us, creating a tempest that threatened to sweep us away. Lucy's eyes, fierce yet soft, bore into mine, begging for assurance amidst the chaos. I clung to her for dear life, cradling her hands as if they would anchor us to a reality that felt increasingly fragile. Are you ready to confront it? The echo of that haunting voice resonated in my mind, a riddle catching like a thorn in my thoughts. The air thickened and my heart raced against the inevitable pull toward whatever truth awaited us. I don't know what it means, Lucy breathed, and I could see the conflict warring within her. If I confront it, if I accept it, will it break me? Her brow furrowed, tracing the invisible scars left behind by the memories she wished to escape. I don't believe that, I replied fiercely, my voice rising against the backdrop of shadows. Facing the past can be painful, but it doesn't have to shatter you. We're here. Together. My heart hoped that my words would be a shield for her vulnerabilities, a lifeline amid the unraveling darkness, and a heartbeat. The shadows lunged toward us, bathed in an austere light that flickered unsteadily, as if it too was uncertain of its strength. The man on the ground struggled to rise, his energy dissipating like mist against the dawn. You both inhabit the in-between, he rasped, and to navigate it, you must acknowledge the truths hidden behind the veil. Yet how could we navigate a truth that threatened to expose the very core of who we were? What if the legacy whispered of already claimed one of us? I squeezed Lucy's hands tighter, feeling the warmth of her resolve slowly seep back into her spirit. Suddenly, in an almost surreal twist, the shadows coiled into a figure familiar yet bruising, a visage that struck a chord deep within me. My breath hitched, recognition clawing at my throat. Mom? The apparition nodded slowly, looking as ethereal as the memories I had buried within. It's time, sweetheart. Time to embrace what you fear most, she said, her voice laced with a sorrowful tenderness. You were never alone in this struggle, and I have come to remind you of that. There was an unease in witnessing her spirit in this moment, a ghost of a past I thought I had left behind. I felt my resolve falter, grasping for a tether in the maelstrom of emotions it invoked. How can I possibly reconcile what's left of you? She reached out, and I trembled at the warmth buzzing at my fingertips. Recognize the impact I left in the light and love, not just in shadows. The truth you seek lies not only in loss but in the love that surrounds you. Lucy turned to me, her eyes glazed with understanding mixed with anguish. Do you see it, Alex? This is a glimpse of our legacy. A reminder that loss resides alongside love. Then I have to face it, whatever it takes, I'll face it. My heart raced, and I felt an invisible breadcrumb trail of courage grow steadier beneath each word I spoke. And Lucy, we will face it together. As one, the shadows receded slightly, quivering in response to our growing resolve. But the tension didn't lift entirely. It morphed into something more formidably, an emotional storm brewing, mirroring the truth we dared to uncover. Yet that spirit me mother's essence brimmed with compassion, even as pain flickered in her eyes. The love you seek isn't perfect. It knits together the broken pieces. The journey through your shadows will be fraught with struggles, but there is beauty in embracing the truth. Beauty, Lucy echoed, her voice gaining strength. In chaos lies our strength. I felt the weight of that truth resonate within me, a beacon guiding us as we face the unseen horrors lurking in the shadows. And what is this truth? I asked, grappling with the uncertainty threading through my heart. My voice trembled as I yearned for clarity in this chaotic dance of emotions. Perhaps it is recognizing there are multiple layers to legacies that haunt you, my mother replied, gaze unwavering but softened with love. You must dig deeper into the soil of your being. But just then an overwhelming rush of wind cascaded through the narrow alley, sweeping away all other voices, all forms of reassurance, silencing them with a gut-wrenching howl. I shielded Lucy instinctively, knowing full well that the chill shaking the air was an omen of what was still to come. What will we find deeper? Lucy asked, her voice piercing through the tempest as her determination quaked under the weight of the moment. Will it be hope or another shadow? I don't know, I admitted, the words birthing a wave of uncertainty. But whatever we face, well confronted as we are together, hands clasped in courage, and with that promise a palpable pulse emerged, synchronizing my heart with Lucy's, awakening the very essence of who we were amidst layers twisted by both pain and beauty. But just as the wind subsided, the shadows twisted back, echoing laughter that filled the air with dread. You think understanding will set you free? I'll only suffer you more. The voice taunted, threading dark undertones of amusement with each word. A flash blinded me, illuminating the depths of the alley, revealing specters of the life we thought abandoned, images of loved ones lost and memories discarded. The revelation was chilling. They were caught in the limbo of our legacy, intertwined with the fragments we sought to confront. Before I could gather my thoughts, a loud crash resounded, and that specter of my mother shifted into my view, her spectral form faltering, dissolving like smoke. Alex, Lucy, careful! She cried out, fear lacing her tone. Mom! I shouted, reaching vainly as she began to fade. Her figure lost once more to the shadows. I clenched my fists, heart hammering wildly against my chest, desperation coursing through my veins. Oh, we couldn't lose someone else. Would we truly have to reckon with the darkness? Not just of our pasts but of how they intertwined as we wrestled with an uncertain collective legacy? The shadows writhed around us, resurgence palpable in the air. And I turned to Lucy, feeling the gravity of the unknown looming ever closer. Whatever pain the past holds, we must unearth it now. We can't let them win without a fight. Lucy nodded resolutely, tears welling in her eyes but shimmering with unwavering determination. Together, Alex. Whatever comes next, I'm with you. But even as we stood united, ready to confront the shadows ahead, a chilling sense of foreboding tightened its grip on my chest. And if the truth changes us forever? I breathed, heart encased in a shadow of unwelcome possibility. Our strength surged, but in that fleeting moment, the void echoed ominously, the laughter reverberating like the toll of a distant bell, the reminder of what we'd yet to uncover, and the crucible that awaited us. And with the stakes mounting, I realized different truths danced between life and despair, echoing a cycle we hadn't figured out how to break yet, leaving us a breath away from the unknown, trapped in an emotional precipice, where we'd soon make our final stand. The air grew thicker as the darkness pressed in around us, a suffocating weight that clung to our skin. I could feel Lucy's breath quickening beside me, a mirror to the racing tempest of emotions churning within me. Every whispered taunt from the shadows bore the resonance of an unspoken truth, and I was painfully aware that we were standing on the brink of revelation. Alex, Lucy's voice came, unsteady but laced with an anchor of conviction. We have to move forward. We can't let them pull us back into despair. Her hands tightened around mine, her warmth igniting a flicker of hope that I desperately clung to. Right? I whispered, steeling myself against the dark whispers that spoke of fear and despair. I had felt the undercurrents of loss and grief coil around my heart, And now with Lucy at my side, I was determined to face whatever the shadows had buried. Let's keep moving, we stepped carefully, each footfall drawing us deeper into the heart of the alley, where the flickering light seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. It was here, amidst the shadows gnashing at our heels, that I felt an unsettling shift in the air, a tension building like the tightening of strings on an instrument. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the depths of the darkness, limping toward us, his profile broken and fragmented. Just as I began to recognize him, the air erupted with a cacophony of conflicting memories, memories that clung to him like cobwebs, illuminated by flashes of light. Dad? My voice escaped in a broken gasp as the figure crumpled forward, revealing the face of a man I had long ached to understand, to forgive, to connect with despite the pain. But now, as he stumbled into the light, I was struck by an unsettling realization. He was fractured, a specter of who he used to be, caught between light and shadow. Alex, he rasped, the sound barely carrying above the rising winds. I wanted to tell you, his voice trembled, echoing through the void that seemed to absorb every ounce of hope. To know, you're not supposed to be here, I cried, panic clawing at my throat as the memories rushed to consume me. You left us. You can't just return to haunt us now. But as I stood paralyzed by a swell of emotions, Lucy stepped forward, unyielding. You can't keep running from your past, Alex. Maybe he's not here to haunt you, maybe he's here to help you heal. Her words flickered with uncertainty, yet held a type of compassionate strength that enveloped me like a soft blanket. Help? I echoed, glancing back at her, then flicking my gaze to the ghostly figure who had once been a man lost in the echoes of his own battles. What could he possibly offer when he's the one who shattered us? Sometimes healing comes from the most unexpected places, the specter croaked, taking one tentative step forward. I never wanted to hurt you, Alex. I don't even recognize myself anymore. I was lost in my own shadows. His voice cracked, remorse slicing through the air like a blade. Lucy's eyes sparkled with empathy as she turned to me, imploring. What if this is a chance, Alex? What if you could finally find the answers, the closure you've always needed? My heart beat crazily in my chest, a symphony of anger, longing, and an insatiable thirst for understanding. I took a halting step forward, wading deeper into the murky waters of my past. So what is it you want to say? I managed, feeling raw and exposed as the shadows loomed closer, the darkness swirling hungrily around. I was afraid, he murmured, pain etched deep into his features, the remnants of love tangled in every hushed word. Afraid of losing myself, afraid of being unworthy, afraid of not being the father you needed. I thought if I left, you'd be better off. With each confession, a piece of the invisible weight I carried began to crack, revealing threads of buried sorrow and unyielding rage. But you didn't consider how much your absence would hurt. You didn't care to think about how it would break my mother. I spat bitterly, frustration raw in my voice. You don't get to waltz back in and expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything, he replied grimly, pain shifting the contours of his ghostly face. I just need you to know the truth. I loved you, both of you, more than I let myself believe. The shadows around us hesitated, wavering as if unsure how to respond to the raw intensity pulsing in the air. Just then a whirling breeze disabused the ghostly image as it flickered like a candle flame, poised on the edge of being extinguished. I wish I could have been stronger. I wish I could have been there, Alex. I'm so sorry that I in that moment. A cascade of emotions crashed down on me. Their sheer power was ferocious, a tidal wave of loss, forgiveness, and a fiery hunger for reconciliation. I felt Lucy's clasp of support, steady amid the storm. A shard of responsibility settled deep within me. I had always blamed him for the pain, the missing pieces of my childhood. But as I witnessed his own brokenness reflected in the shadows, the familiar tendrils of empathy began to sprout. I took a deep breath, the warmth of Lucy beside me igniting a flicker of resilience. Maybe I can learn to accept your truth, I murmured, letting the words tumble out amid the shadows swirling fiercely. But you gave up before I had a chance to understand you. You have to fight for this truth just like I have to fight for mine. His gaze shifted, and I caught the glimmer of a connection long buried, a longing, a plea for understanding. But in that instant, just as hope ignited within, the shadows recoiled, twisting and swirling around us with renewed ferocity. No, you are not allowed to make this a moment of hope, the voice from the darkness boomed, wrapping around us like a shackle, every whisper a reminder of the sorrow we stood amidst. You think empathy will save you? It will ensnare you further into despair. But I couldn't let go. Lucy, we can't give in. I shouted against the tempest, feeling the power of our shared fight. Just as anticipation bubbled dangerously within, the air shifted violently, and I felt the ground shake beneath our feet, a cruel reminder of the stakes rising higher. The specter's face morphed into one of horror as the shadows lunged toward us. Eager to consume the truth we had dared to uncover, I cried out instinctively, trying to shield Lucy, but was too late. A deafening roar rumbled in the air, and before my eyes, she was swallowed into a churning maelstrom of darkness. I reached for her as time froze, panic clawing at my heart. The shadows had claimed her, just as they consumed everything else in their midst. Lucy! I screamed, the word tearing from my throat like shrapnel, desperation reverberating against the ethereal chaos. And there, in the flickering half-light, all hope seemed to recede beneath the weight of despair. The lure of the shadows promising that the fight for understanding would come at a steep price, one I might not be ready to pay. The ground lurched beneath me, an uncontrollable force as I stumbled into the void where Lucy had just been. My heart raced, furious with grief and fury, battling waves of despair crashing relentlessly over my psyche. Fear sharpened my senses, and yet a stabbing urgency guided my next steps. I could not let the shadows win, not now. Not when the truth had finally unfurled its wings within the storm. Lucy! My voice echoed into the churning darkness, the syllables laden with panic and disbelief. I strained my eyes, searching for any sign, every flicker armed with the hope that she might somehow re-emerge from the fray. Then, like a breath of fresh air in an oppressive fog, a figure appeared, a silhouette emerging from the gloom. My heart soared momentarily before plummeting again as I recognized her, battling against the clutches of the shadows that licked hungrily at her feet. She was fighting her way out, but still tethered to the churning storm. Hold on! I'm coming! I shouted, the tremor in my voice betraying the turmoil within. I charged forward into the inky abyss, channeling every ounce of courage that resided in me. The closer I drew to her, the more the shadows twisted and howled, casting barbs of doubt and sorrow that grazed my skin. You can't save her. She's lost, just like your father. The dark whispers hissed, gnawing at my resolve. No! I yelled louder, as if sheer conviction could cast them back. You don't get to define her fate or mine. Bursting through the opposing force, I reached for Lucy's outstretched hand, hoping the warmth would ground me in my righteousness. Our fingers grazed, an electric current coursing through our bodies as hope surged briefly in that connection. But just as our worlds aligned, a violent shift threw me backward, forcing me to stumble, my grasp slipping through an insidious grip of shadows that twisted and writhed like serpents. Alex! Lucy cried out, urgency cutting through the swirling chaos as determination burned bright in her eyes. You have to believe in us. We can break this together. But belief felt fragile, teetering on the precipice of my doubt. I shook my head, wrestling with the weight of the moment. What if it's too late? The shadows, they want to destroy everything we've fought for. Amid those haunted echoes, I caught sight of the specter of my father, helplessly watching as his son was slowly being drawn back into the depths. You have more strength than I ever did, he whispered, his form flickering in and out of existence, torn between realms. Remember that fear is only as powerful as you let it be. I looked at him, seeing a flash of his past desperation morphing into something more profound, an unyielding love that transcended his failures, urging me to fight. Their pain became my anchor, igniting a flame forged from anger and compassion. Cloaked in ferocity, I turned back to Lucy. I won't let go. We'll stand together against the darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, I redirected all my energy, fixing my gaze on the chaos around us. You will not take her, I roared, the incandescent determination washing over me, solidifying into an unstoppable force. I charged forward, pushing through the shadows that clawed at me. Gritting my teeth, I shouted Lucy's name as if my voice held the power to pull her back. And in that moment, a shimmering light burst forth from within me, illuminating the darkness with a brilliance that even the shadows feared. The cacophony of whispers fell silent, stunned by the unexpected explosion of light. I could feel their power waning as I tore through the darkness and grasped Lucy's hand with fierce fervor. The warmth of her skin anchored me, filling the void that had threatened to consume everything. Hold on to me, I urged, my voice a mixture of hope and desperation. Her grip slackened, yet within those frantic moments, our eyes locked, and the unmistakable spark of connection fueled a fire in our hearts. Together, we exploded through the darkness in a blind rush, tumbling into the swirling light that surrounded us. The shadows writhed in frustration, tendrils still reaching out as we fought to escape. But then, without warning, the unforgiving darkness lunged one last time, striking hard. Something sharp piercing my side. A violent shock that brought the world to a terrifying halt. I felt Lucy's grip falter, the brightness around us flickering as if a well-timed storm was about to extinguish our light. I could sense her fear, but I struggled to hold my ground, every fiber of my being screaming to keep her safe. Then, in the chaos of it all, a deafening roar erupted from within the depths of the shadows, unleashing a force of unimaginable power that radiated through the ground beneath us. With one violent surge, we were thrown apart, me world uncoupled, spinning wildly. "Alex!" Lucy's voice reached me, strained and desperate as I felt us slip away from each other. "No!" I screamed, but the word felt hollow against the vast emptiness that enveloped me. I was thrown backward into the dark, and as the howling wind swallowed her screams, despair tightened around my heart like a vice. In the pitch blackness, a single thought clutched at my mind, a heart-wrenching realization that echoed painfully. The shadows had taken her. I was left to battle the darkness alone, with nothing but the weight of my own failures and a truth yet to be uncovered. I in that desolation, where despair mingled with relentless echoes of love, I was faced not only with the fight for my own truths but the haunting possibility of losing Lucy forever, her essence hidden beyond the veil of shadows threatening to consume us both. The darkness closed in, an unyielding void where the tendrils of despair danced like ghosts around the remnants of my heart. I was lost in a world where every which way I turned, I could feel the shadows slither, creeping into the very depths of my soul. "Lucy!" The cry tore itself from my lips, the sound echoing in the hollows of silence, desperation hanging on my voice like an unwelcome guest. But the void remained still, and I felt the icy grip of panic suffocate whatever warmth had once sparked between us. Where was she? The thought pierced me like a blade. Her laughter, her light, they were fragments of a memory I couldn't let go of. And yet the darkness was intent on erasing even those cherished moments. The air crackled with memories twisted into nightmarish whispers, trying to bind me to the past I had fought so hard to escape. My father's specter loomed nearby, a reminder of the legacy I sought solace from yet was bound to confront. "Face it." His voice resonated, a bittersweet cadence that danced amidst the shadows. "The struggle leads you back to her. Only through the pain can you find freedom." And in that moment, clarity struck like a lightning bolt, a revelation sparked within the tempest. Lucy was not just a glimmer of love. She had become the embodiment of my hope. I knew I wouldn't allow the darkness to consume us. I felt the faint glimmer of strength pulling at my core, urging me forward. I had to confront not only my own demons but the collective legacy we both carried, intertwined by shadows yet illuminated by light. With renewed resolve, I yelled, "You will not take her from me." The shadows paused, seemingly startled by the force of those words. A surge of energy pooled within me, sparked by every moment we shared, the laughter, the joy, the intimate conversations. I envisioned Lucy's face, her unwavering spirit anchoring the chaos inside me, illuminating the way forward. The darkness melted away slightly, and in that fleeting moment, I felt a connection tremble through the air, a string tethering my love to her, despite the distance and the despair. I focused on that tether, visualizing her spirit fighting through the chaos. "Lucy, wherever you are, remember who we are together. The love we forged is stronger than any shadow." I channeled all my energy into that declaration, words spoken from the depths of my heart, each syllable twinkling like stars against the encompassing dark. The resonance echoed around me, rippling through the void, and I sensed the shadows recoil, threatened by the truth that flared amid uncertainty. Suddenly, a soft glimmer caught my attention, a flicker of light threading through the darkness. I moved toward it, heart pounding in anticipation. Could it be Lucy? "Hold on, Lucy. I'm coming." I pressed on, driven by the fierce hope that had ignited within me, emboldened by the knowledge that she fought just as bravely against the suffocating despair. The shadows writhed, but I pushed forward, fueled by the connection that tethered us indefinitely. As I drew nearer to the light, warmth surged around me, and with a final surge of desperation mixed with love, I stepped into the shimmering glow. And there she was. Lucy stood amidst a glowing orb of light, her eyes bright with the tenacity that reminded me of why I had fought through the darkness in the first place. "Alex," she breathed, the name and anthem that spread warmth through my veins. "Lucy," I shouted, racing toward her, breaking through the swirling shadows that clutched at my heels. The moment our hands joined, the world transformed into a kaleidoscope of color. The shadows recoiled, retreating as our united front forged a barrier of light between us and the darkness. "I thought I lost you," I gasped, pulling her close, her warmth wrapping around me like the missing piece of my heart. I could feel her heartbeat against my chest, steady and unwavering. "We're here together. It's beautiful," she whispered, awash in the pulsing light that cradled us like a soft embrace. "We can protect it together." With determination we focused our energy on the darkness, the weight of the legacy threatening to bind us, unable to withstand the radiance we unleashed. "We are stronger than our past," I declared, the words igniting within the very fabric of our beings. The shadows shrieked, contorting as light poured in, blasting away the remnants of despair. Threads of our shared memories began weaving into an intricate tapestry, transforming echoes of pain into symbols of strength and resilience. "You may have tried to imprison us," I bellowed into the swirling abyss, "but you will never extinguish our light." And as we channeled that light into the darkness, Lucy stood beside me, her presence a fierce force, her unwavering spirit bridging the gap between our fates. In that final act of defiance, we shattered the chains that had gripped our souls, a unity that transcended the shadows and anchored us in love. With one last resonant burst of light, the darkness ruptured, scattering like ashes in the wind. We emerged from the chaos hand in hand, into the peace of a dawn we both believed in, breathless yet so profoundly alive, hearts entwined in the rhythm of a renewed legacy. And in that moment, as we stood side by side against the rising sun, I whispered, "We've not just faced our past, we've rewritten it." The warmth of the sun embraced us, cradling in the promise of dawn. Our hearts, once torn, now fused by the power of love and understanding, ready to face whatever came next. "Together, forever, that we are redefining our destiny," I murmured, meeting her gaze unwavering. And with that I knew our love, no matter how fractured, had forged an unbreakable bond. We would be the authors of our own story, no longer just haunted by the shadows of yesterday but illuminated by the brilliance of hope. And it was radiant, and that silent dawn, enveloped in love's embrace, I finally understood. The heart's true legacy lies not in the shadows we carry, but in the light we choose to radiate.